Leslie Marshall. Real people, real life, real talk.
Mark Taylor-Canfield, he's a famous blogger.
The Leslie Marshall Show, the only true democracy in talk radio, of, for, and by you, the people. Live nationwide and streaming live at lesliemarshallshow.com. Call in with your thoughts at 888.
How you doing? Happy Monday. Welcome or welcome back. I'm glad to be back from vacation. I'm Leslie Marshall, and this is your show. The only true democracy in talk radio, of, for, and by you, the people. Live on the radio. The calls, 888-6-LESLIE, 888-653-7543. Everybody is allowed to call this program, even if you don't agree with me, and even if you are not a liberal progressive Democrat, as I am. Even if you don't support Hillary, there's definitely a divide to a degree among Democrats and a divide to a degree among progressives. But there's a difference between putting forth opinion or putting forth fact, and when we get on those radical conspiracies, right-wing or otherwise, we've got to move on. 888-6-LESLIE, 888-653-7543. Let's go to Mark in Seattle on line 3. Hey, Mark, how you doing? Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Leslie, it's Mark Taylor-Canfield, your journalist audience member, and I've been following this program. I want to let everybody know that they really should look up a couple of words like hyperbole and calumny, and both of those words have to do with what's happening with this election, especially with the Donald Trump campaign, because he's a demagogue, just like Putin, and so he's trying to use simplistic explanations and solutions for problems that are much, much more complicated than he can probably even imagine. And so I've been writing about this kind of stuff at Daily Kos, and I want to remind folks who support Trump that in the United States Constitution, it's very important that the minority point of view be protected. It's not the tyranny of the majority that we're trying to get here. And to quote Thomas Jefferson directly, the rights which equal law must protect. And that's what he's talking about. We must bear in mind that the sacred principle, the will of the majority in all cases may prevail, it must be reasonable, and the minority possess their equal rights, which equal law must protect. And to violate that would be oppression. I think that's something that Donald Trump should probably read. He should probably check out Thomas Jefferson and find out what was going on in the country at that time between the Federalists and his party, the Democrats. And, you know, we had that same kind of split going on there. And I appreciate your show for the fact that you are welcoming to people, because there are a lot of people on the air right now who are not being that way, and they are shutting down dialogue. So thank you for keeping the dialogue open. And
thank you for citing, one of my many people's favorites, founding fathers, Jefferson there. And Mark, always a pleasure to have you with us. We appreciate your writings there out of Seattle, Washington. Mark Taylor-Canfield. Thank you. Hey, guys, quick. I know we got to take a break. Can I just mention this? You know, there are billboards in the United States, and I just want to be clear about this, because ignorance is bliss, but it also, it's not just bliss, it's ugly, and we can do and we should do better. And my mother used to tell me when I'd ask her something, I'd say, Mom, you know, like, is Sharia law a bad thing? What is Sharia? Go look it up. So I want you to let me be your Webster today, if you will, or your Google search engine. I'm sure you've seen these billboards that say Sharia law threatens America. There are organizations like United American Committee and others that put that out there. It's a scary word. Politicians love to use the word. And as a matter of fact, a Trump spokesperson accused Kaiser Khan of supporting Sharia law. But Muslims don't want Sharia law to take over America. Most of them don't know what it is, and most of them don't want it because they don't know what it is. And in addition to that, you can't impose Sharia law in the United States of America, okay? Sharia means a country ruled by Islamic law, okay? So the United States is not ruled by any religion. Our creation was based on the premise and supposedly the practice of separation of church and state, or mosque and state, or synagogue and state, or temple and state, okay? So we can't have Sharia law in this country because we're not a Muslim country operating under Islamic laws. Period. That's it. Oh, by the way, it's Sharia law that allows women to divorce their husbands and to cite adultery and things like that they couldn't at one time. I'm not saying it's a great thing, but most Americans don't really know what it is. So don't be scared of it. We don't have it here, and it won't be here, because we don't have a country ruled under one religion, which I believe is one of the things that makes America great. We'll be back. Just you, your opinions, your comments, your questions, your concerns, because it is your talk show. Pick up the phone and join us in this and every hour, but this open, wide open telephone's 888-6-LESLIE, 888-653-7543. You can also tweet me, follow me on Twitter, at Leslie Marshall. And because it's a new hour, just want to remind folks that we're welcoming WPEK's audience, our audience now, on 880 AM, The Revolution, out of Asheville, North Carolina. 880 therevolution.iheart.com is the website. Check it out. And follow them on Twitter at 880 Revolution. Welcome, and hope to hear from some of you great folks today. We have a lot of news that's been coming out, and my crew and I were talking about what would be the best topic to discuss this hour. Well, you know, there are people out there who would say, what about Trump's economic plan? But you even have Republicans like Newt Gingrich saying it's nonsense. And speaking of nonsense, we're not going to talk about things like short circuits or even the stupidity of passively aggressively asking a woman to leave an arena with a screaming baby and then coming out with deductions for child care that doesn't help working families, especially those that don't pay taxes and can't deduct anything to get that benefit. But what we do want to talk about is a report that a national security advisor of Trump's told him that, Donald Trump is just not, we're hearing over and over, he is just not to be trusted with our security. We are hearing over and over from people on the right, an ex-Reagan aide, and Michael J. Morella, who ran the CIA and now endorses Hillary Clinton, as to why Donald Trump is dangerous. I want to read you a piece of the piece written by Michael J. Morella himself. He ran the CIA, now he's endorsing Hillary Clinton. He said, quote, during a 33-year career at the CIA, he served presidents of both parties, 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats. And he goes on. I was at President George W. Bush's side when we were attacked on September 11th as deputy director of the agency. I was with President Obama when we killed Osama bin Laden in 2011. I'm neither a registered Democrat or Republican, and in my 40 years of voting, I have pulled the lever for candidates of both parties. As a government official, I've always been silent about my preference for president. No longer. On November 8th, I will vote for Hillary Clinton. Between now and then, I will do everything I can to ensure that she is elected as our 45th president. 2 strongly held beliefs have brought me to this decision. First, Mrs. Clinton is highly qualified to be commander-in-chief. I trust she will deliver on the most important duty of a president, keeping our nation safe. Second, Donald J. Trump, is not only unqualified for the job, but he may well pose a threat to our national security. I want to have you hear something. This is from Joe Scarborough reporting. What a national security advisor of Trump's told him. We're going to take a little listen, and then we'll hear more from the former CIA director and why he believes Hillary is a safer choice for a safer America. Take a listen to this audio.
What concerns you most about Donald Trump?
How erratic he is. Joe, I can argue about this position or that position. I do that with the current president. But he's inconsistent. And when you're the head of a global superpower, inconsistency, unpredictability, those are dangerous things. They frighten your friends and they tempt your enemies. And so I would be very, very concerned.
General Hayden, Harold Ford, very, very quickly. Who amongst your peers that you respect greatly, whether they think like you or not think like you, that you know that's advising Mr. Trump?
No one.
That's a good answer. Well, I have to follow up with that, and I'll be very careful here. Several months ago, a foreign policy expert on the international level went to advise Donald Trump, and 3 times he asked about the use of nuclear weapons. 3 times he asked at one point, if we have them, why can't we use them? That's one of the reasons why he just doesn't have foreign policy experts around.
Trump asked three times
in an hour briefing, why can't we use nuclear weapons? With that.
Be careful, America, and be careful, Republican leaders.
So, General Hayden,
your party is blowing up.
I want to ask one more time, and it may be classified, but the steps. Donald Trump decides to use a nuclear weapon. What is the time frame between his decision and when the nuclear weapons are launched?
Joe, it's scenario dependent, but the system is designed for speed and decisiveness. It's not designed to debate the decision.
Okay, so everybody is clear. You know, we're not just talking about Morell endorsing Hillary Clinton. That, by the way, wasn't even Morell. That was yet another ex-CIA chief, Michael Hayden. And you hear Joe Scarborough reporting that a national security advisor of Trump's told him that Trump asked 3 times in a 1-hour briefing, 3 times, and here's the question, why we, the United States, couldn't use nuclear weapons. What? 3 times in an hour briefing. The fact that he asked it at all, and he wants to be commander-in-chief of our armed forces, the fact that he asks this at all, and he wants to be leader of the free world in leading our international allies in a fight against ISIS, terrorism, and other types of terrorist organizations for peace. The fact that he asks this at all and doesn't know the answer, and that he would ask it not just once, but 3 times, and in that time frame. But even more so, the fact that he would ask this at all should be very troubling. I understand there are people out there who love Donald Trump because of his bravado, or because of his cult of personality, or because of his celebrity. I live in California right now. I've lived all over this great country, and we had Arnold Schwarzenegger as our governor. No business being a politician, certainly no business being governor of the largest state in this nation. He did worse than the person he ran to replace in a recall election, Gray Davis. Worse than, I say, people thought Gray Davis would bring this state to, because Arnold Schwarzenegger had no experience. I know there are those of you out there that don't love politicians. Bernie Sanders is a politician, and Donald Trump is not. But Donald Trump has, in my opinion, no business running for an office of this size, because he is not knowledgeable enough to take this job. And he doesn't have the experience to take this job. If he wants to start out in local politics maybe, or run for something on a smaller scale, I'm going to tell you a little story that's true. I was sitting after Bill Clinton spoke, and if you were looking at Bill Clinton on TV and you looked up to the left, I was one of those tiny little heads that were people. That was me. And I was talking to a Republican who is friends with Donald Trump. And there was a man there talking about how Bill Clinton's speech was awful, and he went on, and I said, come on, can you just admit it? It was a great speech. He's a great speaker. I'm sorry, even if you don't like that, he's a great speaker. I don't think he can give bad speech. Bill Clinton's one of the greatest orators of our time. Not just in my opinion, it's widely held opinion. And that guy left. So the guy I'm talking to, Donald Trump's friend, doesn't like Bill Clinton, doesn't like Hillary. He's going to vote for his friend, and is a Republican. And he admitted that that was a very good speech, and it was very touching because it showed the girl, Hillary Rodham, before the woman and politician we know as Hillary Clinton. But then he also told me that Donald asked about male and female, which name recognition is bigger, and your guy or my girl are better. This is about true national security. Our security. The world's security. Our children's security. And the security not just of our nation, and I'm not talking about building a damn wall around it. I'm talking about the security that we should have when we put our head on that pillow at night and kiss our children good night, every evening that the person in that Oval Office has our, not their, best interest when making incredibly difficult decisions. And I think when we're seeing these people come forward, like Morell, the former CIA director, saying she's the woman for the job, when ex-Reagan aides are coming forward and saying she's the woman for the job, endorsing her, and not only that, saying they will vote for her. We have people that worked for Trump that are coming forward saying they will vote for her. I have some questions for you. 1. Is former CIA Director Morell right? Because he talks about another aspect of security, and that's Russia and Putin. He said Putin played Trump like a fiddle and made him an unwitting agent of Russia. Now, if this is the case, folks, this will become a bigger storyline before Election Day, and we're just 3 months away from that. So is Morell right? Did Putin play Trump like a fiddle? Did Putin make Trump an unwitting agent of Russia? And by the way, there was a time you'd hang for that. It would be treason in this country. 888-6-LESLIE, 888-653-7543. Somebody would be screaming, lock him up for that, right? Today, 50 of the nation's most senior Republican national security officials, and many of them are top former aides or cabinet members for President George W. Bush. They have signed a letter. This is not just one or two people. These are many that have signed a letter declaring that Donald Trump lacks the character, values, and experience to be president and would put at risk our country's national security and well-being. Mr. Trump, the officials warn, would be the most reckless president in American history. Now, how significant is this letter to you as an American? How significant is this letter to you as a voter? 888-6-LESLIE, 888-653-7543. And when you have 50 Republicans striking words such as this, what does that mean when it's this caliber of outrage? 888-6-LESLIE, 888-653-7543. Mr. Trump, the letter says, would weaken the United States' moral authority. It also questions his knowledge of and belief in the Constitution. We saw a father of a fallen soldier offer to lend Mr. Trump his Constitution and encouraged him to read it. Do you have any issues with Donald Trump's knowledge of and belief in the United States Constitution? Again, we saw that passionately addressed by Gold Star father Kizzer. Taking your calls, and we're talking about Donald Trump's lack of knowledge with regard to security, and 50 Republicans writing in concern of this. Former CIA director saying he will vote for Hillary Clinton, former Reagan aides, so many more coming forward. Getting your take on this and the many questions I put out, let's get to the calls, and we start with Charlie in Albuquerque, New Mexico, line 3, listening on KABQ. Charlie, good afternoon.
The same to you, and happy anniversary.
Thank you.
You bet. So, yeah, I'm entirely worried about somebody who has as little knowledge as he has and as little curiosity as he has. But I've enjoyed this, not enjoyed, I've been interested that they constantly ask, talk show hosts constantly ask, what is the straw that will break the camel's back and you won't support him anymore? In my opinion, anybody who continued to support him after he said he'd have the military kill the families of suspected terrorists doesn't understand America at all.
This is not surprising, though, is it? I mean, this man lives in a bubble of his own lies, a bubble of his own making.
Yeah. Well, I think the idea that he is psychologically challenged somehow is absolutely real. Whether that'll actually, become, diagnosed or anything, I doubt it highly. But it's very real. Everything is about him. When I couldn't believe on a show on television when he picked Mike Pence. And the questioner, I think it might have been Chuck Todd, asked him, so what is it about Mike Pence that made you pick him? And Trump's first answer was, he likes me. What the hell is that?
Well, hey, how many psychologists said the guy has a narcissistic personality?
Yeah, at least, please. Well, I will enjoy the sport of Orange Hitler until the election.
All right. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it. 8886-Leslie. And when we finish with the call, it's your cue to call through, because when we finish with a call, there is a line available. Joining us now, Robert from our newest affiliate, full-time live Monday through Friday in Asheville, North Carolina, WPEK, The Revolution, 880 AM. He's on line 2. Robert, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and welcome to our beautiful mountains. People in the South have been disparaged for too long. I think what we need to get back to is the 99% versus the 1%. Many of the generals and right-wing Republicans who are coming out in support for Hillary are nothing more than neocons for the war effort. We've gone from, and I hear on the left, I hear a new...
Want to put over 1.6 billion people within a category of terrorists simply because the terrorists claim to be of religion that they have taken, hijacked, and perverted, much like Donald Trump has taken, hijacked, and perverted the Republican Party. And at least some Republicans, like these 50, are willing, strong enough, and man and woman enough, if you will, to admit it.
The neocons, and if you understand Sharia law, it's not, for instance...
Excuse me, can I tell you something? I understand Sharia law probably the most Americans. I lived in Pakistan. My son is adopted from Pakistan. My married name is a Muslim name. My husband was raised in a Muslim family, although he was born here. I have lived in Israel. I have lived and traveled in Middle Eastern countries. I've been to Iraq and to Jordan and to Egypt and spent time in those countries. Sharia law is not what the right-wing individuals or the bloggers would tell you it is. It's actually very easy to look up. And there's no Sharia law being practiced in the United States, despite those out there who want you to believe that it is, and crazy people who put forth legislation to say that, it can't be, there can't be Sharia law. There's no Sharia law being practiced in the United States. That is a fact. And in addition to that, it just is part of the negative bigotry, prejudice, and, hateful propaganda being put forth against Muslims in this nation and worldwide.
What I'm hearing is a lot of psychological conversations, sort of like an argument to be used. Kaiser Khan, who was at the Democratic Convention, was actually an attorney to help bring in many Muslims in this country. He helped support Sharia law. I would ask people to look into that. He's in the Muslim Brotherhood. Help support Hillary Clinton is one of the most brutal regimes in the world.
Here again, okay? And I'm sorry, when you started your conversation with a line about the South, and unfortunately your rhetoric is playing into the very thing that you're, talking against. Let's talk about facts. The Muslim Brotherhood is an organization that was actually founded in 1928. The Muslim Brotherhood today in 2016 is not the same organization as was founded in 1928. And that organization has taken has had numerous evolutions, if you will, as many of organizations have. I also want to tell you there was a fact check, Snopes.com also, there's many, you can Google it, that the rhetoric, you just again gave an example. I just said there are blogs out there that will tell you that Sharia law is being pushed or practiced by Muslims in this country, in Michigan, Minnesota, etc., and that is not true. Any more than Kaiser Khan being in the Muslim Brotherhood is. It has been proven false. Again, it is a falsehood. You can't believe blogs. It is a falsehood. And when you say he is a lawyer bringing Muslims here, well, an immigration lawyer helps immigrants regardless of their faith. And being that he is a Muslim and does speak, I would imagine, the language of some of the people coming here, and they need an immigrant. I wouldn't waste my time on that guy.
And I'm jealous that they have that much time on their hands. To be 20 years ago, 20
I would
years
like
old
them
again.
to watch my 7- and 8-year-old run the 2 companies I run, do radio, television, write a column, laundry, put on makeup in the morning. God. Have a good one. We'll be back tomorrow.